Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of The
Outsider.
Outsiders. I'm Seth Austin,
And I'm Todd Pickering,
and we're a couple of actors stuck on the outside.
trying to make our way to the inside of the
The
biz.
biz. Hollywood, baby.
Yep, you got it. Hollywood. We're back.
We're back. So that was our intro. That was our first stab at it. Definitely a work in progress. Okay,
Good.
so
You like my
I
towel?
loved it. Dude, your towel it's mysterious. I want to know what's going on underneath that towel. How's
Well,
that red hair doing?
Seth didn't tell me we were going to put this on YouTube last time, so I don't know how crazy big my hair is. It's a pandemic. But yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
See? It's the wet towel secret. Look.
The wet towel secret.
I'm not kidding. This is half this. It fits in the box this time.
Oh my goodness. That's a goal achieved right there. Todd's hair fit inside our little window.
It's a trick.
It's magic is what it is. It's what it is. So we're actually gonna talk about hair stuff later on because okay, so on the last show I mentioned that I had yet to grab my first co-star role, and I neglected to throw it back to Todd, who actually fairly recently did grab his first co-star role on a very cool, very relevant, very new show on a little streaming service called Netflix. The title of the show is
Hollywood.
And what could be more relevant, right? Seeing as the show is about a bunch of up-and-comers, a bunch of folks who are on the outside of the biz trying to make their way in just like we are.
Has anybody not seen it?
I think at this point, the whole world has seen it. I think it's rated like if you go on Netflix, it's like in the top 10 of things that are being watched right now. And I'm sure.
But of course, a lot of my friends are like, I got to finish Ozark first. So people do kind of binge a show. So people are still watching it. So I don't know. No, are we going to talk spoiler alerts?
Yeah, I think we just kind of got to say there's going to be spoilers. I'm sure we can't.
Yeah, we have to talk some spoilers.
Yeah, because we get off on tangents, and there's it's going to happen. There's going to be spoilers. So if you don't want to hear, if you haven't watched the show, this might be a good time to go watch the show and then come back to us and listen to our. We're going to lead off with a little bit of a critique. Yeah. And,
I mean, everybody's talking about it, so we should too.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are your feelings about it, Todd? Having been involved, and how do you feel about the show?
Well, first off, I did have a co-star, so you're only on set for one day, and it was, the show is kind of being written as it goes. It was a limited series, so I can vouch that a lot of even the actors in it didn't really know where it was going. I mean, I'm sure they knew the concept.
Oh, that's interesting. So they were writing it as it went along. I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ryan Murphy's famous for working and reworking, which is something else we're going to touch on. Oh my gosh, stay focused. But and I just read a critique today, and all my friends are talking about it. It's a fantasy piece. It's a Hollywood piece. We were talking about 12 Years a Slave last episode about how intense it is and historically correct, and to the point of, for me, a little too much.
Yeah.
Camera stayed on some scenes too long. It's graphic, period.
Yeah.
Hollywood starts out completely historical. It's based on, the gas station where men worked as male prostitutes, both for women and men in Hollywood. Because, of course, 1947, you couldn't be gay in the world, really. Yeah. So that's a big issue. But the show quickly starts going into fantasy phase, and people are talking about it and even kind of brushing it off. It's it's somebody's creation. It's a fantasy piece. It's a what if.
Right. Yeah.
Were you shaken when it switched to unrealistic?
It's interesting. I thought I really liked the first couple of episodes. They were really light in a way. That was like it was taking some serious stuff and dealing with it in a way that didn't disrespect, the sort of intensity of what was happening. These guys, being at this gas station, being male prostitutes, but it did it in a way that was like super palatable. And I want to say fun in a way. Like I was kind of laughing at it, like the first couple of episodes, and then it kind of got. What's interesting is that as it went more into fantasy, it actually got a little darker and heavier for a while. And then at the end,
to come out the other end.
Right, sure. Then to come out the other end, then of course it all turned around at the end, and it became what was, so a lot of my friends, when I posted something about the first episode about how I wish I had gone the male prostitute route as soon as I landed at LAX, tongue in cheek, of course.
Wow.
I was like, well, if that's all I had to do, that's what I should have done right away, right? Is found that dang gas station. And
well, shoot, we could talk forever. I mean, the casting couch is still,
yeah,
it's always going to be a thing, and the casting couch happens in other professions. So,
yeah,
we call it the casting couch out here in Hollywood. And by the way, I wrote this down. Hollywood isn't a place anymore; it's an idea.
absolutely. I mean,
somebody said that.
Yeah, the town of Hollywood, the actual area where Hollywood is, I mean, like everyone says, it's the biggest, it's labeled the number one tourist trap in the world, the Walk of Fame. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, that area is, because they're basing it on like what people's expectations are versus like what it actually is when you get there, and so it's just a huge.
Now we're a travel channel.
I know,
it's everything. Right, no, it's great. No, it's great. But no, it's true. But just, I mean, LA sprawled like America did, and the studios are no longer. Every agent in the day was on Hollywood Boulevard.
Right, and the major talent lived in those little bungalows. The bungalows are still there, but now they're $2,000, $3,000 a month hipster housing. And
the bungalows were meant for crew.
Right, and the bungalow, and some of the cast, like some of the players,
actors.
Yeah, the beginning actors, they stayed there. No, not the stars, but the studio contracted actors. A lot of them live there. But so going back to the other thing, a lot of my friends, when I first posted about the show, my friend was like, well, me and my husband felt like it kind of fell apart at the end because everyone kind of got what they wanted. But like, let us know what you think. And honestly, like, I was glad I got some of those warnings, so I was prepared for it. But I also realized what I really realized is that the last episode, I think it's the last episode, is called the Hollywood
ending.
Right? And so it goes back to what you were saying. It's a fantasy piece, right? It's a what if piece. He gave his story a Hollywood ending, right? So it's interesting in that it's, of course, very meta, right? And it's just like a what if thing. Like you had said to me at one point, like, what if they decided to break all of these barriers earlier, right? And what if you had a progressive studio head who decided to make all these very progressive decisions and give the lead to an African-American actress, let a homosexual black writer write it, let a half Asian director direct it, and then cast an Asian woman who had been passed over before in supporting role. So all these things are fantasy things, and like I liked it. I mean, did I think it went a little too far? Maybe in the like, let's give everyone I mean, granted, not everyone won an Oscar, but maybe a few too many people won Oscars.
No, that's the only way it could end if it's a fantasy piece. It was saying breaking all the barriers in one night, and it's done. Yeah. And then nobody. Here's the thing: a friend of mine who's a lot younger than me texted me, "I loved it." She said, I just looked up. Do you know that Halle Berry was the first Black Best Actress to win? It's so funny saying actress because it's still the actress category. I mean,
right.
They call themselves actors, which I'm totally grateful to hear that. I mean, we don't say directress.
Right. Yeah. Degendering the actor thing.
Produceress.
I think that's wise. Absolutely wise.
But at any rate, 2001. And she's like, did you know that? And my answer is, yeah, I did know that is the point.
Yeah.
But people don't know that. And, I mean, that's 200 episodes that you and I could talk about with just, the AIDS crisis and the, the civil rights in the 60s, on and on and on. I mean, it took forever. So, and it's still going on today. So, it's a fantasy piece. That's the bottom line. And you can complain about it all you want, but it's not your piece. You didn't make it. I love historically accurate pieces. We learned so much from them.
Yeah.
But I love that too.
One of the most interesting characters to me was the Henry Wilson character. He's the sociopathic, power hungry, takes advantage of a young Rock Hudson in very explicit sexual ways,
by the way, Seth, we should tell I guess at this point the spoilers are gone, but it's not a light piece as far as it's pretty intense sexually. Yeah. It's very racy.
Right. It is very racy.
For those people that don't like racy, I mean.
Yeah. And the beginning, again, it's kind of comedic, right? They show Jack Costello like doing his thing with all these different women, and as a result he's able to get onto the lot, and he gets on he becomes an extra, and then he eventually becomes a star through his shenanigans as a gigolo. But again, that starts off kind of comedic, and then it gets heavier and heavier. And sort of the stuff with Henry Wilson's kind of the same way. And what I find that character so interesting is I actually I dealt with someone in New York who was similar to that. That he was very much a sociopath, and he had a huge ego, and he knew that, and sex was power for him, and he absolutely tried to take advantage of me. And so it was good to see that really shown. I mean, the guy that I dealt with in New York, he wasn't nearly as overt, or sort of, the Henry Wilson in the show is a little bit of a caricature, I think, although I'm sure that people like that existed, but as far as my experience, like the dude I dealt with wasn't nearly as over the top.
Well, I will let everybody know that I have not researched, except for what my knowledge of anime Wong, because I have researched during the past, etc. But I haven't researched any of these characters. But there are rumors that they lightened him up for the series Hollywood.
Right. Right.
And I believe that too. I'm sure I'm sure they just made him more clever sounding, well written. That's what I'm guessing they meant by lightened him up.
Right.
He just was only a sociopath, wasn't even funny or charming. He's kind of charming, played by Jim Parsons, who does a great job. So
yeah, Jim Parsons kills that role. My wife loves
in both ways.
Yeah.
Both the funny parts. I mean, you're still laughing at him despite his horrid behavior in the very next scene.
Yeah.
That's good writing. That's fun.
And I also like that, like at the end, he comes around, which, is a little bit hard. Like sociopaths, it's hard for a true sociopath to just flip the switch like that, right, and come around. Although it's sort of
Hollywood
possible.
Ending.
Right, that's the part of the Hollywood ending. And actually, the guy that I kind of dealt with, he half apologized to me at some point, but not really.
So was this for getting an agent? Can you be more specific?
No, he took an interest in me. We were doing he was choreographing an off-Broadway show that I was in with the Classical Theater of Harlem. And he approached me and asked me like if I was interested in coaching, and grooming and that kind of thing, to kind of get introduced to agents. Yeah, so you're right though. The agent thing was part of it, and I did eventually get an audition with his agent. So he half followed through on certain promises, but he would say things, and the push and the pull. Like he would be very complimentary to me one minute, and then tear me down the next minute, and always kind of keep me, somewhere in between. And I was young, I was in my early 20s, and I had that desperation, and I felt like he was a good, he knew people. He was fairly well connected. He directed a lot of episodes of daytime television and stuff like that. So I saw it. I hung in there because I saw that connection as an opportunity, But he was, a little bit of a deranged individual. Like if you talk to him about our relationship, he'll sit there and tell you that certain things happened between us that absolutely never happened. And it's just my word against his. So it was good to see like that a character just like that I had dealt with, portrayed so well in that show Hollywood. And it's a huge cautionary tale because those people exist in this industry, and exactly that kind of stuff happens. And I'm sure that it still happens, unfortunately, despite the Me Too movement. I'm sure that stuff is still going on. So for any, newbie people to the business, like just stay on guard, stay true to yourself. Don't let anyone tell you that you have to do that kind of stuff to make it. I mean, if you want to do that kind of stuff to make it, like I'm not sitting here to preach and say that that's wrong or that's bad. You do you, right? But don't let anyone tell you that you have to go that route because that's the only way to make it. Or that if someone wants you to have sex with them, you're not comfortable with it, like just walk away. That's not who you need to be,
There will be more opportunities.
Of course.
For every door open, there's another door closed. And yes, there's so many people out here, but yeah, absolutely.
For all those people who are not cool, there's a lot of people who know that person is not cool. You know what I mean? So, and there's plenty of great people in this town that you can connect with and create stuff with and find a way in with. So don't get
Hollywood's great fun. I mean, it introduces you to people like very important people like Hattie McDaniels.
Yeah.
Tallulah Bankhead.
Yeah, I think it's great for that. I'm sure that a lot of actors.
Something else I'll say too about people talking about, critiquing Rock Hudson or the actor Jake Picking playing the part, or Ryan Murphy for writing the part. Hey, this was all behind closed doors in this was, again, I haven't researched it, but my point just being, it's a story. It's a great story. There are millions of people like Rock Hudson that come to Hollywood from small towns, and we don't know what was said behind those doors. It's all great. It's based on a true story. That's the point. Yeah. I mean, Fargo was one of the first, it was a movie based on a true story. And, I was talking to somebody from Minnesota that was like, that's not what happened. And started telling me, and I go, wow, your story is really boring. It's based on a true story.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the movies so I could learn about the police history of what happened in Minnesota and North Dakota. I think that's the problem people have. It's one person's story. It's fun. It's exciting, and it's really fun.
Yeah, and it's a piece of art, that's what art does. It takes something real, it adapts it, it turns it into something else,
And hey, if you're looking for a historical drama in Hollywood, if you want to know what Hollywood was like in 1947, do not watch this show.
No, yeah, it's not.
It's not what happened.
No, absolutely not. It's an alternate reality.
It's fun, and it's reviewed as such. So, and hopefully it makes you think about it. Hopefully you do what my friend did. Look up to see when the first woman
right, exactly. So that's what I was going to say about like that kind of stuff. I think it gets a lot of younger people, myself included, interested in learning about all this old Hollywood history and watching some of these old, films that these stars were in. And that's great, because then you have a real frame of reference, a point of reference for Hollywood history and all that stuff and traditions.
And here I go. Here we go. Did you hear that? I got on my soapbox.
Todd's on a soapbox. Look out.
And I might not get down. I might just stay here.
Is it comfortable up there, Todd? How are you feeling?
I love it. The view is fantastic. See that.
Look at that. Look at that smile on his face, folks.
I did.
That's my favorite Todd right there.
You need to know your history.
Yeah.
If you're an actor that moves to Hollywood, and I've heard people, I don't like old movies. It doesn't matter. You have to watch some.
Also, how do you not like old movies? Come on, man. The 7-Year Itch. All About Eve. All About Eve is one of the best films ever made still. All of Alfred Hitchcock stuff. I mean, come on. You can't sit there and tell me you don't like old movies.
I mean, but you got to watch your movie history. Great. You don't like old movies? I'm not saying, that's what some people say. I'm like, I'm not talking about what you like. Right. You need to watch Metropolis, the silent movie. Yeah. You need to watch, there's 10 movies you can watch, and then you can at least show up at a cocktail party or be on a set and know your references of silent films, know your references of the first talkies. I mean, you should Google some first talkies. You'll only get like 20 minutes into it. They're unwatchable, but you should try to watch them because the new art form was talking and they hadn't figured it out yet. They were shooting them kind of like plays, and you're like, and some actors weren't good at talking. Some actors became bigger stars, like Ronald Colman went from, because he was so handsome, went from a silent star to even a bigger star because he had the world's most gorgeous voice. So he benefited. Timing. But you have to watch a 40s film, and you have to watch a 50s film, and the 60s. Don't even get me started.
Yeah, I mean, that's just part of the job, right? That's part of the job of being an actor is knowing all these things so that, like you were saying, so that you can talk about them. If you find yourself at a cocktail party with a director, producer, agent, whatever, that brings up the subjects, I've never had a real other career, but like, I would imagine that if you were to go into anything else, like, I don't know, say like advertising, you'd have to know the history of things so that you can have a frame of reference for all that stuff.
You got to know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I lost you there for a second, Todd. I think I lost anything that you might have said for the last couple of seconds.
I didn't say anything. I lost you a little. Anything. So I was trying to be like a cool actor.
Look at that. That was brilliant.
I heard words.
We had our first glitch, people, and we made it through. Look at us.
Sometimes they don't appear, but so I just was, I wish I smoked right there.
Yeah, they kept the smoking in Hollywood. I think that was accurate. Everybody smoked back then. They didn't shy away from that. They didn't try to rewrite that part of the history.
Nope.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so What's next? We want to talk about your experience on the in the show.
Sure.
All
Of
right.
course.
Yeah. How was the casting process? How'd you go about getting the audition? What was it like?
Well, I have an agent, so you really can't get into, I don't think you can, that's actually not true. This casting director, it was Courtney Bright and Nicole Daniels. Bright and Daniels are the casting directors, two lovely ladies from, that have been doing a bunch of Ryan Murphy shows. This isn't their first. As an outreach, I need to tell you all, it's SAG-AFTRA does these talkbacks, and they do these, now because of the pandemic, they're doing these talks. It's on YouTube. I think SAG-AFTRA members, which is, again, if people don't know, is the union, Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television Radio Associates, I think is what it stands for.
I think, I can't, that's embarrassing, but I'm not 100% sure about that either.
I'm not 100% sure that last A. I'm sure it's associates. Any rate, they've merged, whatever. So, but you can see these on YouTube, so you should watch it too. They do a Q&A, so I learned even more about being in the room. But you got, they did say they take submissions, and when you're doing something specific like Hollywood, like Dorothy Arzner, the director, she has a very, very bit part, and that woman looks so much like her, it's not even funny. So, they're going to take submissions without an agent, but it's hard to get into the room. And, we were talking about hair. Go back to the hair. I played Red Tedimer, studio head of publicity. Got to do the scene with Patti LuPone, Joe Mantello, and Samara Weaving, which was amazing. All amazing actors. That was such a coup, and didn't know that when I auditioned.
What was Patti like? How was she like to work with?
Amazing. She was such a trained actor. Well, let's stick with auditions.
Let's go to the audition. Getting off track.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's so much to talk about. Auditions. So co-stars. How many have you auditioned for? Let's keep this dialogue.
I think I've auditioned for, at this point, 6 or 7. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, between New York and LA. Two or three in each city.
How many co-stars usually are 2 or 3 lines?
Yeah, five or fewer lines. They're under 5. So
under 5.
So if you have 5 or fewer lines, you're considered co-star. If you have more than 5 lines, you're a guest star.
I've heard under 5. See, we're learning by doing this. I've heard under 5, but I wasn't clear on what that was.
Yeah.
So that is the actual definition of a co-star and a guest star, huh?
Correct. Yeah.
That's so strange, because even a guest star could have, sure, I don't know. They could have 7 or 8 lines that bump them into the next category.
Exactly right. Or they could get paid as a guest star, but in the end they end up as a co-star because their lines got cut,
Well, a friend of mine, an agent friend, told me one of his clients was a guest star, 4 episodes, reduced to an extra, was in one scene with no lines.
Yeah, that happens all the time. It's a sad reality. Yeah.
I'm blessed, right?
Yeah, seriously. And you had a great scene and you had a great line and you absolutely killed it. And I'm not just saying that. We enjoyed watching it. I was sitting here with my wife and she was like, Todd!
Yeah, I got a few. I'm from Nebraska, like I said, and a lot of Facebook comments. You're a movie star. Yeah, I got 2 lines. I think Patti LuPone would be more of the movie star, and technically, movie stars are a dime a dozen in this. I mean, not a dime a dozen. The opposite. Few and far between people that can open a movie with millions of dollars.
Oh, for sure.
What I mean is a true movie star. Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman. I mean, are these people that can open that their names? Basically, a movie star is somebody whose name is above the picture.
Right,
and they're few.
And I don't know, I don't want to say that there's fewer now, but like not as many pictures are big, and they're fewer now. Yeah, you'd say, because there just aren't as many big movies anymore, right? I mean, it's really just the summer season where there's big movies.
But look at the big movies. They're the Avengers.
Right.
I mean, it's not Robert Downey Jr. in the Avengers,
That's
and
true.
he's clearly a movie star.
Yeah.
In that category, but what I mean is, people go out to see the Avengers, not to go see Robert Downey Jr.
That's true. Even if he is one of the best parts of it, in my humble opinion, you're absolutely.
And I'm not. No, I'm talking that he's great, and he's the reason that he started the franchise. That's another discussion. But back to Hollywood, because we keep doing that. That's what our show's going to be, folks.
What was your audition like?
Thank you. So, I mean, man, you don't have any time, people, when you come into that room.
Yeah, under fives, you get no prep.
You get 2 lines. They were amazing. They treat you like a professional, so you better behave like a professional. So now I'm talking about the casting director. And honestly,
Yeah.
it was my first time in the room, so I don't know if it was Ms. Bright or Ms. Daniels. I think I know who it was by watching the Q&A, which everybody has to watch. It's amazing. But so she said, do you have any questions? And I said, no. And the second I said no, I put the period on it. She hit that tape button. And I was
So
like,
it was, yeah, you were flying. You were flying. You were in the air.
Well, she said, do you have any questions? I said, no. Well, then what else is there to talk about? And I did it. And 2 lines. And she hit the button and said, nope, that's wrong. You're way too high status, meaning you're too, you're talking to somebody that's intense, that, that she's a bold personality.
Right.
Oh, great. So she said,
sorry, let's clarify. She was, the note was that you were acting at too high status, or
right,
that,
like that I was too confident.
Yeah.
I was
right. You were too confident. Yeah.
And for the acting term. So she said, does that make sense? I said, yeah. She said, do you have any questions? And I said, I thought for a second, and she was already reaching for that button. And I said, no. So I did it again, 2 lines. And she said, nope, now you're too weak. I need you to cut the difference. And I'm like, yeah. Okay. She said, do you have any questions? At that point, I knew that
no,
there was no answer. The button was hit. Yeah. I cut the difference. And she said, thank you. Excellent. Thanks for coming in. And then a month later, your agent calls you and says they want to send your tape to Ryan Murphy. And the word on the street is Ryan Murphy looks at all of them.
Oh, wow. That's not common, right? That's great.
It's not uncommon either.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Ryan Murphy really cares about who he casts. So,
right.
And, I don't know. Let's talk about this, Seth. It's Red Teddimer, redhead, So yeah, the submission is, you feel slightly like, I'm in the room because of my hair.
Yeah, you're typed in for it right away. You've got it. You've got that. And you got that old Hollywood look, right? And so you, like you were saying, like, Ryan Murphy takes a strong hand in making these decisions because he has a specific, aesthetic and looks that he's looking for. And you fit that perfectly, right? So you got the opportunity because you had your agent got the connection, and then you have the good look, and you come in prepared. That's the thing I really want to hit, is that yes. You had the 2 lines ready to go, and you were completely prepared, and what does preparation mean? Like, what would you say preparation means for you? What did you do to prepare?
Well, that's a great question. And, by the way, we could talk about any of our co-stars. I just happened to get this one.
Right.
So
right.
Doesn't matter if you're not the right look, but you have to make a choice.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a script that I don't know anything about. I'm looking at 4 lines, and you're like, it doesn't matter. Just make a choice and run with it. And you don't make a choice. She might have just said, that was great. Thank you. And I would have left the room, and she would have said, I'm not sending that tape in.
Right.
He doesn't,
now, you come in with a choice made, right? If I might add to this, you come in with a choice made, and then she sees that you've made a choice, which she's happy with, obviously, that you've made the choice. Now she wants to tweak it, right? Now, I would say that the next part for me of preparation is you come in with your choices, but you also come in so flexible, so ready to go, so relaxed, right? That, for me personally, I'm speaking just from my own personal experience, like, relaxation is maybe the most important part of my preparation after I've got the lines down, because I have to be so relaxed that I come in, I make my choices, and then whatever direction they throw at me, I can completely flip the switch. And I know the lines so well, and that relaxes me so that I can just do the thing that they asked me to do. Take that direction, go the opposite way, whatever.
But here's my question for you. You get called in for a Ryan Murphy show for a casting director for the first time. How do you relax?
Well, that's a good question, right? And that's what you have to figure out for yourself, whatever that is, this is another tangent, but in the school that I'm currently training in right now, that's a big part of the preparation is relaxation, and so it's breathing. It's a mindset in a way. You come in with the idea that you're there to be present in the room. It's to a certain degree, that's part of your job, right? You're there to be present in the room. You're there to listen, to take everything in, and to just relax, to just enjoy the process, and part of that, and I should say a big part of for me is of being relaxed is being extremely well prepared. I've done this thing a million ways from Sunday in my living room with my wife, so that when I walk into that room, like no matter what they throw at me, I can flip it up, and I'm not going to be like, oh, I didn't see it that way. Now I don't know what to do, So part of my relaxation preparation is
Right.
just being prepared.
And training. I say to myself on a costar on 2 lines, you can't be nervous for 2 lines. They're 2 lines.
Right.
Memorize them, make a commitment, and I mean, be nervous. Enjoy your nerves, take them, throw them away. They're trying to cast this role. So, well, we should start wrapping up.
Yeah, we're hitting that time.
We're hitting that sweet spot.
We're hitting that sweet
Who knows?
spot.
Maybe Hollywood's going to be a 3.
Oh man, yeah, we could go on about this for a while.
It's a great way though to, we want to talk about hanging out with, our tips to help you out. Let us know if you want to hear more and all that good stuff.
I'm going to wrap up by saying that, this part of the springboard for even doing this podcast to begin with was Todd and I got on a phone call about a week ago, and we just started talking about Hollywood. And then I remembered that we had talked about doing a podcast a long time ago. And I thought, let's figure out what we have a good rapport. We like the show Hollywood. It's relevant. It's timely. And so here we are. It came down to us as outsiders, again, mirroring the characters in the show Hollywood. And so that was our springboard. So thank you to the show Hollywood for kind of inspiring Todd and myself to make this show.
And speaking of, this is a nice little wrap up, outsiders, insiders, I got to work one day on set and I was part of it, but you still feel like an outsider, you come onto a set. Yeah. They were so welcoming. The great little button, cast and crew was amazing. I'll talk more about that next time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk more about the show, maybe even more about the casting process next time. I feel like we just scratched the surface on all this stuff.
Well, we could talk forever, and we've got more stories. You've got stories too. So
absolutely. All right. Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That actually wasn't quite all. We realized after we recorded that we forgot to give you our email address. So if you would like to engage with us, please do so. The email is theoutsidersbiz@gmail.com. Again, that's theoutsidersbiz@gmail.com. Thank you again for listening.